question 11b, write down all the integer values of x satisfying this inequality. Minus 4 is less than or equal to 2x is less than 4. Pause now, try to do the question, and unpause to see how it's done. You're told to write down the integer values of x that satisfy this inequality. So this here is an inequality. You have expressions and they are related by inequality signs, and you're asked to write down integer values. So first of all, what is an integer? An integer is a whole number, like 1, 2, 3, 4. It's also minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 11, and so on. It's not a half, 3/4, 0.75, minus 2/3, and so on. So it needs to be a whole number. That's called an integer. You have to write down the integers that satisfy this inequality. Minus 4 is less than or equal to 2x is less than 4. You could do it now, but it's easier if you see a question like this. Instead of having x with what's sometimes called a coefficient, in this case the coefficient of x is 2, it's easier for, instead of it being 2x, that it's just x. There's a very easy way to get that in this case. All of these numbers, when I look at them, are even, and x, the coefficient of x is 2. So x is being multiplied by 2 at the moment. So I'm going to use the inverse method. The inverse of multiplying is dividing, just as the inverse of adding is subtracting. So I'm going to divide 2x by 2 so it becomes just x, 1x or just x. So 2x divided by 2. To keep everything, to keep the values all the same and to keep the relationships the same as they are now, I also have to divide minus 4 by 2. I also have to divide 4 by 2. So let's simplify this. Minus 4 divided by 2 becomes minus 2 is less than or equal to 2x divided by 2 is what we wanted to get, x by itself, which is less than 4 divided by 2, which is 2. Now we have something that's easier to work with. And if you have a question like this, I recommend that you always try to get it, instead of in the form 2x, get it in the form x. Okay, x is a letter standing for an unknown number. We don't know exactly what number x is. We do know, however, that minus 2 is less than or equal to x, and x is less than 2. You have to write all of the integer values, in other words whole numbers, that fit into this. Okay, minus 2 is less than or equal to x. So what could x be? What values of x could there be? What numbers are that satisfy that? Well, minus 2 is less than or equal to x. So if it's equal to x, then one of the possible values could be minus 2. Remember, it's also minus 2 is less than x, so x is more than or greater than minus 2. So what other numbers are there that are more than or greater than minus 2? Well, minus 1. So we wrote down minus 2 because it's less than or equal to. Now minus 1, because this part of the sign here, the arrow pointing left, means less than. So minus 2 is less than x, so x is more than minus 2. So what number is more than minus 2? A whole number? Well, the next whole number is minus 1. The next integer or whole number after that is 0. The next integer or number after that is more than minus 2 is 1. Minus 2 is equal to minus 2. Minus 1 is greater than minus 2. 0 is greater than minus 2. 1 is greater than minus 2. So they could all be possible values for x. because minus 2 is less than or equal to all of these. However, you're told that x is less than 2. So you might be tempted to just continue and say 2, but you would be wrong. 2 isn't part of the answer there because x is less than 2. X is less than 2, not equal to. This sign here means less than or equal to. This sign here just means less than. So if you see this sign by itself, that's telling you that x is less than 2. So a possible value for x is not 2. And this is your final answer here. The 4 values that x could possibly be, the 4 integer values or whole numbers that minus 2 is less than or equal to, which are also less than 2, are minus 2, minus 1, 0, and 1.